How's it going today, Jerry?
It's going great. How's everybody today?
Excellent, excellent, thank you. So you have a very beautiful 150-gallon reef tank. How long has this guy been up and running?
It has been up for about probably a little over 2 years. It really didn't get corals until about a year and a half ago or something like that. It's going pretty strong though.
Did you start most of these from frags or some of them bigger colonies? Because like there's some pretty big growth you got going on here.
Everything in there was a frag. Everything, even the chalice. You know, pretty much everything. I don't think there's anything in there that started any bigger than a couple inches.
Oh, very cool.
Including even the acans have even actually grown that big from single heads.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice. So about 1.5 to 2 years-ish?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah. Nice.
Still kind of adding some things here and there. But
now, was this tank an upgrade, or did you start this one fresh as its own tank?
So I had two 120s here in this place, and they both outgrew themselves. I ended up deciding to do a bit of an upgrade. So it was pretty much upgrade. I bought the tank separate and got somebody to get it for me, and then just kind of slowly put the stuff together. I really didn't kind of rush this one. I sold all my livestock and the other systems first, so I didn't really have a lot pushing me to have to hurry.
Kind of nice so you could take your time in it.
Yeah, you know, and you know that nervous feeling when you're setting up a new tank. You want to rush, but you don't want to. You want it to kind of draw out a little bit, take a little time. You know, and although it looks pretty cluttered, I do try to really decide where things are going to go and where it's going to fit where, and it's really more thought out, you know, than I probably anticipated, but it's just kind of how it happens. And
so you're obviously a little more on the stick side of things. You got tons of acros in here.
yes, love my SPS. I love all corals, love all salt fish. Actually, I love everything in the whole, you know, fresh and salt, to be honest, but I don't know what it is. It's the acros that does it for me. It's the polyps waving in the water. You know, a lot of people come over and they say, well, you know, I like the wavy stuff, but I see those little polyps on them waving around, and I don't know, it just does it for me. And I just like the challenge, I guess. You know, I'm 44, about to be 45. I had my first salt tank at like 11. You know, I've been having tanks for so long that you know, I guess it's just kind of to that point where I just, you know, I want to be able to pull my hair out every once in a while because something's driving me crazy, I guess, and acros will do it for you.
Do you have any favorite corals in the tank?
Well, I love chalice, believe it or not. As much acros as I have, that chalice that you're close to, that's probably my favorite.
Yeah,
you
beautiful.
know, that's probably one of my most prideful chalice. And then as far as acros, you know, I've got this the one over here, Pieces of the Ocean, Tropic Thunder, I think it is. It's been chopped up a little bit lately in the last year or so, but it used to be a little more full. It used to have blue tips. It's probably my favorite acro in the tank.
Nice. That's pretty.
Of all of them. I actually got that as a little 1-inch frag at Magna in New Orleans that we did. When we put Magna on in 2017.
Nice.
I got that as a 1-inch frag then, and that's what it grew into. That one and this, I'm just going to call it a deep water acro, that blue and.
That's a nice color.
You know, I got that as I mean, it was maybe a 1/2 inch at Magna 2017, and that's probably those two are probably my favorite of the two.
Nice.
You know, but yeah, that's a slow grower right there, that blue one. I've never fragged it ever. I've got one frag in the frag tank that it's just a backup that I don't know if I'll ever sell.
Just in case. Hey, it's always wise to have backups of your corals.
Yeah, that's one thing I've come to learn, unfortunately, over the years. Is it's best if you can give a couple friends some backups and then even have opportunity to put something away for yourself.
No, exactly. So lighting wise, you got T5s running on this.
Yes.
Yeah, same on. You actually have a frag tank that's also plumbed in, right?
Yes. Yeah, they're plumbed in together. Yeah, so the frag tank's running an 8 bulb, the 3-footers, I think 36 watts are what they are, I believe. And I love T5s. I'm a huge T5 fan. I don't have anything against LEDs, but I love the growth. I just love the way the corals respond to them. I just love the colors. And I've always had T5s. Well, let me rephrase. After I went from my 400 watt metal halides and VHO actinic bulbs, I went to the T5s, and I've just never stepped back. I've never veered away from them. And the main tank has a 10 bulb 5-footers on it, and I got it, I guess, about 1.5 feet off the tank or something like that.
How often do you change the bulbs in them?
I actually run them about 1.5 years.
Year and a half?
I know some people like to go less than a year, and some people say a year. Generally, at about 1.5 years, I start replacing them, and I usually do like 2 bulbs at a time. I have done all the bulbs at one time and haven't noticed any harmful effects or anything like that. But you know, that price is $50 every 2 bulbs. You know, so I change them out about every 1.5 years. So I guess that's the disadvantage when it comes to LEDs that people speak of. But for me, it's not that much of a burden. You know, I don't mind.
So do you have a special bulb combination that you like, or do you mix it up?
I'm a big fan of Blue Plus.
Yep.
And let me see how many I've got on this one right here. On the 10 bulb, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Blue Plus, 1 actinic, and I think 2 Fiji Purples.
Nice.
I consider the Fiji Purples white bulbs, in my opinion. That's my white lighting. The actinic bulb, I don't know that it does anything. To be honest, I don't even know that you even really see the effect on it. I've thought about changing it to another Blue Plus, but in my opinion, if you want to grow SPS and you're going to go T5s, the ATI Blue Plus, you cannot go wrong. They'll grow acros by themselves with no other bulb.
Good to know. I did a hybrid fixture with 4 bulbs in it, and I did all Blue Plus. So
all Blue Plus.
I made the right choice.
Yep.
So you made your stand yourself, and one cool thing that I found with this is you have doors, but the panel also pops up.
Yeah,
you got options.
I did put doors on it. So one of the things that I really disliked about my old stand and about my old system, there was 2 things that drove me absolutely crazy. One thing is I had a center brace. Hated it.
Yep.
Couldn't wait to get rid of that. Second thing is I had a bar in the middle. It was always hard to get in. When I built this stand, I welded it by my father's house.
Nice.
I decided to go with some rare earth magnets in the door panel, but also have doors, because I want to be able to get in there. With this design, you know, I put some cross braces. I braced a little extra underneath in spots that you can't always see with angle iron, but I mean, you can see. I've got all the room in the world to work on. Anything can come out. It's just so much easier. And this was one of the main things that made me kind of upgrade. It was just because I wanted simplicity.
Yep.
You know, my tank is pretty simple. I don't have a lot of fancy stuff on it. You know, some stuff you consider like the chroma pump and stuff maybe is a little more fancy than like a top off with calc. But the tank's pretty simple, and everything's really easy to kind of get to, and it just makes it more enjoyable to have the tank when you're not fighting everything all the time.
Exactly. Well, there's something nice about simplicity, less stuff to break and go wrong and maintain.
True too, you know.
Yeah. So you're running the calcium reactor. And have you had the calcium reactor from day one, or did you add this in later? Or?
Actually, my old system, I ran calc, and then when I set this one up, I had a calc stir, and it just couldn't keep up with the demand. So I eventually got a calcium reactor, and best decision I've ever made. That thing, I did have problems or 2 here or there, mostly user error, but once it's locked in and set, man, I mean it's solid. Between that and the Comor pump, I get hardly no fluctuation in alkalinity through the day, and I really kind of set it and forget it. Only thing if I was going to do different, that I would do different here is I think I want to get another chamber, so I don't have to replace media as often. I run it kind of low pH at 6.5, kicks back on at 6.7, so I kind of burn through media pretty fast. But you can see where it's going. Well, I mean, you know, the uptake is
It's worth it for the results. Speak for themselves.
Right.
What's does this blue light have any purpose, or just for you to see inside?
It has no purpose at all, just for me to see inside. And I did have a refugium in here on this side, but when I did the refugium, I had the blue and red coral growing lights and stuff that ran it. But this system, I have a problem keeping nitrates. They run at 0 all the time. And when I had the refugium on there, for one, that was just adding to that problem. For 2, it was just more to maintain.
Yep.
So I eventually decided to just do away with it. There are some rocks down in the sump. I don't know that they're there so much for nitrate and phosphate removal type thing for bacteria. They were just stuff that I was setting in the tank, and I couldn't find a spot I want. I like the rocks. I put them in there so they kind of stay cycled, and over time they just kind of wind up there, and that's kind of where they are. They may, I'm assuming they help somewhat with the with the cycling, and everything of
Another bacteria
everything.
source in a way.
Right, so I don't find it bad, but if somebody's watching this and wondering if they need to put rocks, in their sump, I don't know that it's that much of a benefit. It probably makes it just harder for me to clean the sump, but the tank's doing well, with them in there, so they're just they're just there.
That works. Now, you have chunks of your tank with sand and chunks without. Did you remove some, or is it just from the pumps over time?
So I did remove. I had sand in it originally, and really just a flow thing. Got tired of it kind of pushing it around a little bit. So I removed a little bit from different spots. I was doing it little by little. I still kind of want to remove some more sand off this side so my acans will sit flat on the glass. They just don't care. They don't grow as fast in the sand. Those acans used to be in the middle of the tank, and they grew a lot faster there. I've since turned up the flow. It was kind of rough on them, moved them to the side, put some encrusted monis on the bottom because they can handle it. And so eventually I'm probably going to pull some more sand out on that side, but at that point I'll probably stop. I do have a big mystery wrasse in here. He's probably 6 inches, 5.5. It's one of the biggest ones I've seen. He keeps hiding in the hole back there. But so I like to keep a little sand. I've got some other critters and stuff, but yeah, so I kind of siphoned some out and kind of left the rest. The pump kind of pushed it to the back, and I think I'll probably just kind of leave it like that for the most part.
Nice. So what are you running for flow in the tank?
So I have the those are the Coral Views.
The Octo something?
Octo 4s,
Yeah.
that's right. So I've got 2 of the Octo 4s. I've got 2 of your cheap Jibo pumps, just for a little extra flow. To be honest, the Jibos aren't needed. Those Octo 4s are turned all the way down. They're on like 1 or 2. They're amazing. I mean, they and I'm not trying to give David over at Coral View a plug, even though he's one of our Aquafest sponsors.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see it's literally set at 1 dot. And I mean, if I turn these things up, I'll just go to 4 on this side, and then I'll do the same over here, and you'll see they're unbelievable. And that's about midway,
Yep.
and they'll start to really chop the top of the surface and all, and the corals really take a good liking to it. But
Yeah,
but I don't leave them up all the time. You can kind of see the sand and all starting to blow around and all, but they've worked really well for me.
Oh, excellent. You gonna see those polyps in the back just giving her in the flow now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the dreaded green star polyps. Everybody hates and so afraid of, but
They're a great splash of color.
I love let them grow so much, and then I'll scrape big sheets off of it, bring it to the pet store, let them have it. I don't even charge them for it, and then I re-let it grow again. And
It's a very bright, vibrant green.
Mhm.
I still have my token piece in the tank too.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like everything in the tank. If you don't mind taking the time to prune it and remove it over time, it doesn't come such a nuisance. It's not as bad as some of the nuisance corals. And
So for people that don't know much about Aquafest, since you're one of the ones helping put it on, tell us a little bit more about it.
okay, so what Aquafest is, we put our first show on in 2014 here in Slidell, which is in the greater New Orleans area, and that show was called Frag Yap. Our local slang around here is land yap. That's free extra stuff, just good extras. So we named it Frag Yap, frags, land yap, get it. But now we've moved on to, we're going to have freshwater and stuff this show. And we're also just catering to more, outside of Louisiana. So, we've changed the name to Aquafest. Same location, same show, most of the same vendors, but we're bringing on more vendors. We're also going to have a freshwater side of it. It's me and 2 other guys that actually own and started Aquafest, and it's April 18th, 19th. Really looking forward to it. It's going to be a great show. Really great lineup of vendors, and it's going to be exciting. It's something we take really dear to heart. It's really dear passion-wise. You can see the people putting on, all three of us putting on Aquafest. It's three of us, and all three of us have systems like this.
Yep.
All three of us are dedicated. All three of us just love the hobby.
It's born from the hobby and to support the hobby, which is awesome.
It's exactly what it is. And honestly, to be honest, the whole show thing started because we just wanted to bring it to Louisiana. Just wanted to bring something for the hobby. And every year people will talk to us about how much they appreciated, how great a time they had, and that's what's been in the influence to keep trying to grow and to make it bigger. And you know, over the years we felt like we were kind of leaving out the freshwater people, so that's why we changed from Fragnaps, it's not just corals now, to Aquafest, because we want to include the freshwater and saltwater. We want to include everybody. And to be honest, most coral hobbyists these days started as fresh hobbyists. A lot of them started with cichlids or so most of the time, and so you know, hopefully we can bring both sides together, and you know, my goal is that everybody that comes to our show one day has both a salt and fresh tank in their house.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately I don't have a freshwater system right now because I kind of promised the wife we'd have one tank for a while, and we got two.
I see two.
And
I
now
see three.
now my wife has her own little nano tank with some zoanthiates and stuff. And she's you know, it's got a good number of zoanthiates in there. I don't know, but they're still frags, they're still growing, but about a year that tank ought to look really nice. And
no, it'd be awesome once it's fully covered in zoas.
And so guys, any of y'all that, you know, I see a lot of posts online where the guys can't get, you know, their wives don't want this, and buy your wife a fish tank. Make it, do yourself a favor, get her own tank, buy her own corals, and then maybe she won't give you such a hard time. I'm fortunate, my wife and kids actually work with the shows. They actually participate in Aquafest. They work behind the scenes. They're involved. So I've never had the problem. Matter of fact, my wife picked out a coral last year. She really wanted it. It was $2,500. So needless to say, we didn't get it. But for the guys that always say their wife won't let them spend anything, if I listened to my wife, we'd spend way too much. So
Nice.
I have the opposite problem, you know.
It's a good problem to have.
It's a good problem.
Well, that's awesome. I'm looking forward to the show, and yeah, I love seeing that it's put on by hobbyists, right? So it's
That's
all
right.
passion for the hobby, for the corals.
True
and everything
hobbyist,
else.
true passion. We definitely do it for the love of the hobby. There's no doubt that that's the first reason that we go through the troubles, or I wouldn't call it troubles, but the work, you know, because it is work, you know, to put on a show, you know, like this. We do have to put the time in. So you have to love it.
Yep.
If it's not something you're making a ton of money off of, you have to love it, and we do truly love it. And heck, this has been my passion since I was a little kid. I don't know what I would do without it, to be honest with you.
I know, it'd be like a void in your life without having a tank.
It would
now.
definitely be a void in my life. I spent a little time in the Marine Corps, and that was some of the roughest time not having a fish tank there. And I thought about it often. I really did. And if that would have been a way when I was on base that I could have set something up and not got in trouble for it, I'd have had a tank there too.
Nice. No, that's awesome. Well, you got your tank now, and it's a stunning tank. It's growing in nice. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited to come, you know, see you again in a couple of months and see you at the show.
A couple months, see how it's doing. Maybe it'll grow a little bit in a couple months, and who knows? Maybe we can have you down again next year, and maybe it'll be a little more filled out and all. And it's a little filled out in spots now, you know.
Oh, it looks pretty packed. It's
Some may
looking
say cluttered in some spots, but the reef grows like that. The reef figures itself out, and it'll figure itself out, and I'll help it along here and there. And
So any tips you give someone trying to get this nice growing out packed tank?
So
like for a year, it's looking pretty packed, pretty good. So
one tip that I have is read. There's nothing wrong with books. There really isn't. I know everything's online now, but there's something to be said about a book that doesn't give you multiple opinions at once. I love the internet. Part of the problem I think sometimes people have, they get on the internet and there's so many opinions and so many ways to do it. But that's just it. There is so many ways to do it, and so many people chase everybody else's numbers. The first question people ask when they see a nice take is, what are your parameters?
Yep.
And sometimes I think what gets lost in there is that that's their parameters, and it's not your parameters. It's not your tank. You know, every system's different, and I think sometimes that gets lost in everything. And just be patient, figure out what's good for your system. What does your system, what alkalinity does your tank like? What calcium does your tank like? You know, your tank might like a little nitrates, the next guy's might not, you know, and don't beat yourself up over that. You know, a lot of people hurt their tank by chasing numbers all the time and trying to get it to what this guy's is, and to try to get it, you know, look at, I don't know if everybody familiar, but Sanji, been in you know, years. I mean, he's a huge name in this. He's got some of the highest nitrates and phosphates, you know, you'll hear, and his tank's absolutely stunning, you know, and it's, sometimes, you know, I just feel it's just better to just kind of flow with your tank and see what your tank likes. You're going to have problems here and there, but just move through them with where your system wants to move through them. And most of the time where I see people having problems is just, like I said, chasing numbers, trying to get it to where it's supposed to be, but not really realizing where your tank wants to be. And I think that, you know, I think if you do that, sometimes you take a lot of stress off yourself, a lot of stress off the hobby, a lot of stress off the corals even sometimes, and it just makes for a more enjoyable and pleasant experience, in my opinion, you know. But
another big thing too is when you're chasing numbers, you're constantly changing things, and that's one of the worst things for coral.
That's right.
You know, they can adapt to low or high or whatever, but
That's
they just
right.
want consistency.
That's right, and everything with temperature and all. I see, you know, people ask what temps should I have my tank, and one person's 77, and the next person's 81, and there's no way you can have it at 81, or there's no way, you know, it's every tank is going to be different. You just kind of have to see where your tank sits and what it likes, you know. And the one thing I try to do is just admire people's fish tanks, pick their brain a bit, but I don't come home and automatically try to implement it in my system. I think about it. I may go over it in my head multiple times for a couple months if it's something new that I want to try before I really decide that I'm going to give it a shot. And then even at that, then you have to be patient, because everything takes so long to set up. If you're hurting the tank, sometimes that takes a few weeks to happen. If you're doing good for the tank, sometimes that takes a month to happen. So if you decide you're going to do something, really think about it first. And then when you decide to make that decision and that's what you're going to do, stick with it. Don't let it go for 2 weeks. I see people say, well, I started adding amino acids 2 weeks ago, and after 2 weeks, you know, I'm not seeing anything, or this is happening, you know, or I decided to drop my alk to this, or raise my alk, or I switched salts to this, and now it's not doing what I thought it was going to do. Do you recommend what other salt to switch to? And you know, it's just too frequent. It's not
Stop changing constantly.
Right. Pick one thing and go with it. If it doesn't work, give it 6 months. And I know that sounds like a long time, but the one thing that most people that have been doing this a long time, everybody knows, is nothing good happens fast in this industry. Nothing. The only good things that happen usually take a little time, and only things that happen quickly are usually bad.
Yeah, true.
And, you know, and that's just the way it is. So keep your hands out your tank, even though I'm bad for that, because this top is off all the time and I'm always fooling with it. But I'm not changing parameters. I'm not changing things. I'm just moving stuff around, or you know, or just things of that nature most of the time. But that'd probably be my most solid advice. And then my second thing of advice is that I see is take a little pride in your system. If it's 10 gallons, be proud of your 10-gallon tank. If it's 500 gallons, be proud of your 500-gallon tank. I see a lot of people in this hobby put a lot of pressure on them because they always want to look like the next guys, the next big tank or the next fancy. If you don't have the means, or you don't have the size in your house, or you can't afford a thing, whatever you do, you still have the same amount of pride in it, because that's going to show back in your tank.
Yep.
That's where you're going to see your corals. When you have something that you constantly don't like this about your tank, or you're always envious of the next, and you don't put your own pride in your tank, it'll actually show in your tank. Take care of your tank like it's the best tank in the world, and your corals will repay you. Your fish will repay you, and you'll have a beautiful system, and you'll enjoy it more like that, you know. So,
well, it's great advice, because you obviously love your tank and it looks awesome.
Well, I appreciate it, especially coming from somebody that sees so many tanks in the business.
No, it's gorgeous. Love it.
Thank you.
Thank you again for letting us come and check it out.
Oh no, anytime.
Yeah.
Reef Dudes is welcome in my house at any point.
Much appreciated.
Nope. And it's great to have you here. And hopefully I help somebody out, you know. Hopefully they can see it's a little more simplistic system than some, and hopefully I can encourage somebody to you know, bring that tank to the next step, or somebody that's just been not sure if they want to go to SPS. A lot of people are nervous. You know, you can't hurt anything trying. You know, get your couple frags and see what happens, and don't get discouraged. If they die, you know, it's, see what you did wrong and start over.
Yep.
You know, but I truly believe anybody could have a tank like this. I just feel like it's what you put in. If you have enough passion and you want to take the time, I don't think it takes a certain level of intelligence or a certain level of money to really have a beautiful tank. It's just how much commitment and how much passion you want to put into it, you know.
Passion, dedication.
That's right.
Oh, awesome. Thanks again so much.
Anytime.